Shalom. Shalom and welcome. This is Man's Final Steps. It's a continuing series. This is a continuing series to those who will be among the ranks of the 144,000 and multitude that will come out of the great tribulation. It is a message to those mentioned in Revelation 7th and 14th chapter. It is a continuing series. Today is January 17th, 2014. My name is Symmanayah, and in this segment of Man's Final Step, it is entitled First Stage Planning and Budgets. My brothers and sisters, those who believe Yasharal will be gathered are faced with enormous decisions. I believe with all my heart, mind, body, and soul that there will be a gathering from the four corners of the earth, as foretold in scriptures. There is no doubt distance and time will play a key role in gathering such a large group. I am compelled to believe this group will represent a remnant when contrasted or compared to the entire population on the planet. I am compelled to believe it will consist of the 144,000 mentioned in Revelation, and many who will be in the ranks of those described as a great multitude who will come out of the great tribulation as written in scriptures. Yes, I believe some will be left behind and will be martyrs. For the Mashiach himself said some of us will be killed for his name's sake. My brothers and sisters, if we have come to believe we have entered into the end times, if we have come to believe that end-time prophecies like never before have begun to unfold before our eyes, it will be wise to expect some type of movement, some type of transition. While most have not given any thought to the specific details of how such a gathering will come to be, I submit to you it will be a complex journey. Scriptures have provided examples using the words first fruits in many examples. And I believe with all my mind, body, and soul that this can also be described as those who respond quicker than others, mature quicker than others, respond quicker than others. I believe with all my mind, body, and soul there will be those who will take the initial steps towards the fulfillment of these scriptures regarding the gathering. I believe those who will be considered as first fruits will come to be among the ranks of individuals who grasp the understanding of first stage planning and budgets. Allow me to present an excerpt regarding the first exodus of Yasharal from Mitzrayim to give an idea of what the second exodus, which will be the gathering of Yasharal from the four corners of the earth. That excerpt is from Exodus 12th chapter. I will read verses 31 through 39. Then he called for Moshe and Aaron by night and said, Arise, go out from the midst of my people, both you and the children of Yasharal, and go serve Yahuwah as you have said. Take both your flocks, make note, your flocks and your herds, and you have said, and go. Then you shall bless me too. And the Mitzrayites, for some of you might look at it as Egyptians, depending on what version you're reading, the Mitzrayites or Egyptians urged the people to hasten to send them away out of the land, for they said, We are all dying. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, having their kneading bowls bound up in their garments on their shoulders. And the children of Yasharal had done according to the word of Moshe, and they had asked from the Mitzrayites or Egyptians objects of silver and objects of gold and garments. And Yahuwah gave the people favor in the eyes of the Mitzrayites or Egyptians, so that they gave them what they asked, and they plundered the Mitzrayites. And the children of Yasharal set out from Ramses to Sukkot, about 600,000 men on foot, besides the little ones. And a mixed multitude went up with them too, also flocks and herds, very much livestock. And they baked unleavened cakes of dough, which they had brought out of Mitzrayim or Egypt, for it was not leavened, since they were driven out of Mitzrayim. And I keep saying Egypt because some of you may know it as Egypt. And had not been able to delay, nor had they prepared food for themselves. My brothers and sisters, these verses represent only a portion of what took place during the days of Moshe regarding Yasharal's exodus from Mitzrayim. Notice in these verses, food and other needs were addressed before Yasharal's journey began. Make note to verse 36 how Yahuwah gave the people favor in the eyes of their captors or Mitzrayites or Egyptians, and they gave them what they asked and more. When the second Exodus begins, we will witness provisions provided, and there will be order, discipline, and living guidance by the Spirit of Yahushua, and through either directly from him or through his chosen elders. If you study the scriptures thoroughly, you will come to realize Yasharal's exodus during the days of Moshe or Moses. It did not happen at the blink of an eye. It did not occur in an instant. It took time and resources that were made available for their journey. I strongly believe we will begin to see individuals guided to central locations and then ultimately to a safe place determined by the Most High Father Yahuwah. I am compelled to believe this location will be in the so-called Middle East region, possibly near the true Mount Sinai, which is known today as Jabal al-Lawz, located in northern Saudi Arabia. I'm compelled to believe it may be very close to that region. Before the 144,000 in multitude who will participate in the fulfillment of this prophecy come to reach this appointed safe place, they would have journeyed many miles and across oceans for some. There are those who believe they have begun the fulfillment of the gathering of Yasharal. There are those who are already in that region, known as the Middle East. The only comment I have regarding those within the ranks of these individuals is, if they have pledged to a Zionist government, and if they have yielded to their rules to be in the so-called land of Israel, if they are there by deceit and lies, this is not by the orders of the Most High. For the Most High Father is not, absolutely not, the author of deceit and lies. So if those who consider themselves Hebrews, true believers who seek to worship and obey the Almighty Father, if those that are in the land are there under lies and false pretenses and false pledges, this does not represent the fulfillment of Scripture. I will not go into this in any more detail in this segment on this matter. Back to the subject of this segment, first stage planning and budget. I am compelled to believe there will be a massive gathering in the state of Virginia, a gathering of those who will be among the ranks of the 144,000 and multitude, who will be included in the number of those taken to an appointed safe place. While I do not know the specific city, if all is as I believe, me and my household will be somewhere near the Richmond, Virginia area before the year ends. I believe if we are being led by the Spirit of Yahushua, we will witness others gathering within this area as well. I am convinced unbelief will tug and fight at many of those who are called and chosen to be among the ranks of the gathered. But those who have been foretold to participate in end-time prophecy, they will still come to be where they need to be, at the designated place, at the appointed times. I believe there will be those who will participate in first stage planning and budgets by making their transition to the area with plans directed and made possible by the Spirit of Yahushua. In other words, these individuals who would be likened to first fruits will and are being led to begin planning and will ultimately make their transition to Virginia. As for those who are in other parts of the world, I believe they will witness similar events which has begun that will take them to the outermost parts and borders of their prospective countries. Yes, I believe they are either making plans and or move towards these locations as they believe they are guided. I believe there are some that are already in Virginia who understand that there will be others coming, that they will be led to prepare to receive those who are called and chosen by the Spirit of Yahushua together before leaving the United States. I have no doubt that there are those who are and would dismiss my words as speculations. There will be those who will say it's my personal opinion and more. This does not stop what is to come. It will not halt what is to be. Many embrace the belief of a second Exodus, but dismiss how this will come to be. They ignore the fact that we serve a living Elohim Yahuwah, and through his set-apart spirit sent in Yahushua's name, we will receive guidance. Many fall victims void of realizing there is work and details in the gathering of the 144,000 in multitude. Many are void of accepting the Spirit of Yahushua what he will do, and that he will guide us. Many find it hard to believe that he provides instruction, reproof, discipline, and judgment directly in or through his chosen elders and leaders. First stage planning and budgets on this subject, I encourage each and every individual who believes they are being compelled to plan and or move to the state of Virginia or someplace near to begin drawing what you envision. In other words, write it down, my brothers and sisters. Write down, where do you believe you should go? What is it going to take to make that transition? How much money you would need? What will be required in terms of resources and transportations? What is necessary in terms of income streams and cash flows? Remember, Habakkuk, 2nd chapter, verse 2 and 3, and it reads, "And Yahuwah answered me, saying, Write the vision and inscribe it on tablets, so that he who reads it runs. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, and it speaks of the end, and does not lie. If it lingers, wait for it shall certainly come, and it shall not delay." This is an example of a vision that Habakkuk received, and he was instructed to write it down. Take a moment and ask yourself, what are your needs versus your wants? Consider the types of income that you would need to make such a transition. Pray on how and where, as well as when, you will stay. Pray how you would go, when you would go, and where you will stay. Consider the costs associated with obtaining shelter, apartment, a home, or land. Consider your transportation needs as well as educational needs for any children. Remember, there are some criteria where we can homeschool our children, and we may witness this come to be in these last days. Take under consideration the cost of living in that area, the area you believe you are being led to locate. I believe many will begin to ask questions and establish connections with others who share the same convictions regarding locating to the Virginia area. I am compelled to believe the Spirit of Yahushua will make clear when and what must be done. With first stage planning and budgets, I suggest each of us look at everything necessary for making this transition successful, as we believe we are guided by the Spirit of Yahushua. Yes, you must look in the mirror, or it would be wise to look in the mirror and move as you believe you are guided by the Spirit of Yahushua. Please, I'll say this again, please do not move on my behalf. I am merely presenting what I am compelled to do. I am merely presenting what I am compelled to place before you. It will be the living convictions of the Spirit of Yahushua. It will be his Spirit that will make alive my words if they are indeed true. If there is no life in my word, by all means ignore them. It is very important. It is critical that you move based on whether or not your spirit bears witness to these words. If you believe you are receiving convictions and instructions and living guidance from the Spirit of Yahushua, and you would like to connect, I invite you to reach out. Let's discuss the possible strategies and plans regarding first stage planning and budgets. Let's talk about it. I invite you to use me if you are guided as a sounding board to explore and make sure checks and balances are in place to make such a transition. If you indeed believe these convictions are upon you regarding first stage planning and budgets. My brothers and sisters, I strongly encourage you to do an assessment of eating and drinking habits, as well as be mindful that things will not be the same going forward. End times will prove to be a great time of adjustment and adapting to newly discovered habits. This includes adults and children who will be faced with adjusting and adapting to things different than what may have been previously experienced. By now, most of you may have come to know that I strongly believe a time will come where we will witness forced transitions and movement. I am compelled to believe as famine, drought, pestilence, and disease enlarge, as these things and conditions increase, in their wake or in their shadows will come chaos, violence, civil unrest, economic distress, increased crime, and much, much more. I have stated in times past how I believe these will be humbling times for those who seek to worship and obey the Most High Father, Yahuwah. It will be humbling times for those who accept Yahushua as our Mashiach and our Messiah. As for the unbelieving, the unaware, the unlearned, and or the plain rebellious, the interpretation of what is about to unfold will be much different. When these conditions begin to get worse, there will be forced movement and transition. I have no doubt that transitions have begun already for many and will begin to increase across the globe. Pray and watch. I am compelled to believe there will be some of us in place to receive those who will journey towards Virginia in or the outermost borders of their prospective countries. There are those who will be in the ranks of the individuals forced to move due to conditions I mentioned earlier. It is said that birds of a feather flock together. This is a cliche which depicts people of like minds coming together. I submit to you, my brothers and sisters, when chaos and civil unrest rise with extreme intensity, we will begin to see gangs, militia groups, maybe fellowships and camps and other types of assemblies begin to circle their wagons, so to speak. They will come together to preserve their current possessions and resources. These diverse groups will form, and in some instances, they will forge strategies for forcing people to respond to their needs and desires. Yes, my brothers and sisters, in some cases they will forge strategies for taking whatever they think their needs are. It will be a time of much distress and confusion. It will bring forth pain. It will be as birth pains. But it will also be pain amongst individuals on the planet as the New World Order, the beast system, and the emergence of the anti-Mashiach and anti-Messiah and false prophet mentioned in Scripture. It will be pain as that order forms, as that New World Order takes shape. I have no doubt there will actually be those who have been chosen to be among the ranks of the 144,000 in multitude, who will be exposed to these coming conditions to a degree, to a point. I have no doubt that some would have moved earlier and more quicker than others, but there will be those who will be a little slow at responding. Let me say this, my brothers and sisters, nothing, no, not anything, will or can stop the fulfillment of what is told in Scriptures regarding the rise of the 144,000 in multitude who will come out of the great tribulation. As I stated before and again, there will be participants of those who are and will be forced to transition to move. Those who experience forced transition are akin to the late bloomers, a little slow, but nevertheless, if they are indeed chosen by the Most High, they will come to receive the reproof, and they will fulfill the tasks that are set before them. While we may believe we are and or were unsuccessful with convincing some or others to think about making these transitions proactively, we will come to discover in our prayers, in our seeking, in our movement, that there will be those that will respond with a ready mind, body, and soul regarding these soon-to-be transitions. It will be wise to continue as we believe we are convicted by the Spirit of Yahushua. As pertaining to the specific places we will journey before going to an appointed safe place, there are those who are already in these prospective areas, and there will be more who will be transitioned to these areas. Among the ranks of those who will be akin to the first fruits in or first responders, so to speak, we will witness the Spirit of Yahushua providing living guidance, opening doors, making way, and proving to bring our transition to pass by his power, mercy, and favor. There will be those among us who will receive the resources and abilities to make transitions sooner than others. There will be those among us who will probably be called to open our homes, our apartments, our land, etc. to our brothers and sisters as they begin to take steps and make their journey towards the location that is designated by the Spirit of Yahushua. My brothers and sisters, these phenomenal things that are unfolding are all too real. We will be faced with very complex and difficult decisions. Choose wisely how you would respond. I cannot stress enough to ask questions if you are receiving convictions regarding transition. Seeking and asking questions, we cannot do it enough. And in or any type of movement that you believe is being ordered by the Spirit of Yahushua, remember, Scripture says in the multitude of counsel there is safety. Pray to discern and understand and identify righteous counsel, my brothers. Yes, if you are receiving convictions, begin to seek answers. Pray to seek and discern and understand what must be done, and establish a ready mind, body, and soul to act once you are indeed convinced. My brothers, I will wrap this segment, first stage planning and budgets, up with saying, if you are able to provide witness to these words, if you believe these words are indeed alive, I invite you to consider, let's begin to communicate. Only and only if you believe you are led by the Spirit of Yahushua. First stage planning, as well as establishing budgets, will consist of many details and much work. Are you ready? I strongly suggest that at the very least discussions begin among you and your loved ones, whether you move among those who participate in the first stage of planning and budgets and relocating, or whether you find yourself among those who are forced in transition. Begin these discussions among loved ones, for in discussing it ahead of time, it will help minimize the pain. It will help avoid abrupt shock when proof comes. Be encouraged, my brothers and sisters. There are those whom the Spirit of Yahushua has equipped with the skill sets and resources to provide leadership and guidance regarding all that has been said. Pray earnestly to discern true chosen elders and or leaders who are and will be among the ranks of the 144,000 and multitude. Pray to discern and understand. Establish a ready mind, body, and soul to act when so ordered. When so ordered by the Spirit of Yahushua, as you believe, yes, you believe, you are compelled. Remember, each of us must and will give an account for the decisions we made, for the things that we have done in these bodies. Will you be among the ranks of those who understand the dynamics of first stage planning and budgets? Will you be among those who will face much reproof and intense refining to be convinced as to what your purpose will resemble? Will you be among the ranks of those who will be left behind? Are you called to be a martyr? And if so, what are you preparing to do? If you believe you are called to be a martyr, what messages do you believe are being given to you regarding such tasks? Or have you established your mind, body and soul, and ear to hear when given instructions to respond? You see, my brothers and sisters, these questions are designed to stir up your spirits. They are presented to get you to praying and inquiring of the Spirit of Yahushua, to seek direction and living guidance regarding what must be done. I realize, my brothers and sisters, these times can and will appear to be very overwhelming, but attempting to ignore and or disregard what's unfolding will not, absolutely not, stop what is to be. The fulfillment of end-time prophecies will come to be fulfilled. These days definitely reflect end times. These are indeed man's final steps. It represents the final steps towards the return of our Mashiach, our Messiah, Yahushua. Each of us will face, and some have already begun to face, going through a refining process like never before imagined. While we may be unaware of what the outcome will be, we know that we are going through something and being prepared for something. While we have been programmed to use so many different words to describe what we are going through, I submit to you it is a refining process for the unifying of those who will be among the ranks of the 144,000 in multitude. Pray and watch, my brothers and sisters. Pray and watch. These words will come alive, if not already, within your spirit. It is time to begin making some tough choices regarding first stage planning and budgets. It is time to prepare yourself for making some hard decisions if you find yourself being proactive as guided by the Spirit of Yahushua, or when forced transitions reach your doorstep. Remember, do not be afraid to ask questions. Do not be afraid to seek answers. Living answers from the Spirit of Yahushua. He knows the heart and mind of all. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, remember, this plan belongs to the Most High Father Yahuwah. And he sent his set-apart spirit in Yahushua's name to direct our steps, for us to listen and follow and discern and respond to his order and commands regarding what must be done. Until next time, my family, my brothers, my sisters, continue to stay tuned as this series, Man's Final Steps, continue. Shalom, shalom, shalom.